Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever Onslaught Candidate School. And I'll be one of your hosts today. We'll also have Almost Functional, who is Matt D, and Nick hurting himself. How's everyone doing?
Doing all right. How are you, Lewis?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Nick?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
All right, all right. So what are we going to start off with today?
Whatever you want.
Well, first of all, let me introduce myself. So I'm Louis B., General Slaughter, also known as Onslaught Gaming. What I do is I'm a tournament organizer and an avid player as well. I tournament organize events in Seminole, Florida. I usually run RTTs roughly between 25 to 30 different people, 35 different people. I run various GTs throughout the year. I actually have a GT called Grand Onslaught 7 that's coming up on this Saturday on February 10th through the 11th. As of right now, we have 59 people signed up, and I'm excited. Also, I am a part of the WTC officiating committee, which is also the U.S. Wargaming Committee. Um, I'm also a part of the National Tabletop League, which is more derived about 8-man teams, doing events like that throughout the 8-man team circuit. Speaking of circuits, we are going to have an ATC circuit coming up in April 13th through 14th. It's going to be a 100-man 40K event, 5-man teams throughout the ATC circuit itself. I also have events that I help a fine young gentleman. He is the myth, the legend, the greatest. He is Tim Wright. He does Rubicon events in Kissimmee, Florida. We usually do those on the second Saturday of the month. Onslaught 2K in Seminole, Florida is usually on the first Saturday of the month. I usually do around 28 events per year. I'm also an event judge for GW. So yeah, so my slate is full. I do a lot of things. I'm usually very tapped into what's going on inside the community and the Warhammer 40K scene itself. Talk about yourself a little bit, Matt, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I've been playing 40K since beginning of 3rd edition. Traveled to tournaments all over the place. Played through pretty much every edition since 3rd. Got my little YouTube channel. I like to get on here and just act like I know what I'm talking about when it comes to wargaming. Traveled to most of the big events at some point or another over the years. I like to consider myself a slightly above average gamer, and
I would consider you better than that. I've known Matt for a very long time.
Yeah.
We're very good friends. I think he's a very tactical player. He's one of those players that actually originally, between my other friend David Ozawa and Matt himself, originally they were the guys that I would say would teach you how to do the movement phase, how to do the deployment phase. They were very tight, always having miniatures in the back 40 so you won't get a monolith deep striking in there, right? They taught me a lot of stuff. So thank you to you and everything that you've done for the community, Matt.
Well, and I also take all the blame for Lennon because I used to smash him when he used to come to our tournaments at like 14. So.
Yeah, and Matt is an elite Space Wolf player, and he helped me a lot, especially when we started going to ATC doing teams 2 years ago. So that was a really big help to me.
And tell us a little bit about yourself, Nick. What do you do?
Oh, what's up, guys? I'm Nick Herding, aka Tricky Nick. I'm a 40K player. I started playing in 2020. Just been playing a lot of local events. Tampa Bay, based in Tampa Bay. I think my most recent tournament placing, I got 4th place in the GT for GW Tampa. So got to play against a lot of great players. Actually won in the shadow round, which is crazy. So I won my first 7 games, which was pretty intense. Really kind of serious 40K experience. So I'm just kind of here to bring some perspective about I guess the meta, maybe the local meta, some of the national or international stuff as well, and just kind of offer a player perspective for players that want to learn more about the game and just I guess improve the experience overall. So
Yeah, Nick, you came in and picked up 40K really quick, but you were playing War Machine at a fairly high level before that, so you weren't a novice gamer when you jumped into 40K.
that's right. Yeah, when I was a kid, I played fourth edition. I think I was in middle school. I played fourth edition, and then I transitioned to playing War Machine for a long time, and so I definitely have a background with War Machine, which carried over pretty well into 40K. But honestly, if you look at those game systems right now, War Machine's in a pretty terrible spot compared to 40K. So it's
Oh,
obvious.
absolutely.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I think War Machine had its biggest boom during like 7th edition 40K when
yeah,
everybody hated 40K. It was probably the worst edition, just rules wise. So I know a bunch of us started trying to get into War Machine, and then 8th edition came out, and everybody went back.
yep.
Yeah.
So that's
No,
me.
everything has been going great, and you guys have been doing awesome as well. That was impressive, by the way, Nick. At the Tampa Open, what you did there. You played against Jack Harpster, right?
Yeah, I lost to Jack Harpster on the stream game. I played against Nanavati and Harpster on stream, so I had a very close game against both of them. And then Jack, I had a really epic game where his Angron was fighting. It was World Eaters against Chaos, and his Angron was fighting my Selesky in the middle of the table. I think during round 4 of the game, which is really fun to watch. So
You were playing World Eaters, right, at that point in time? Because I know you're switching your army now, I believe, for the grand tournament this weekend.
yeah, I play CSM and World Eaters. I also play Thousand Suns. I played Thousand Suns in 2 years ago for about a year straight. That was the only army I played. So I really like the chaos aspect of it. I know about Space Marines. I don't really play any Xenos, but I definitely know about Space Marines a lot. Similar to like how Matt knows about wolves and Marines a lot as well. So
Correct. Yeah, no, I love World Eaters right now. That's my army. My favorite army is Harlequins. When they come out with their book, I'll transition over to them. My next transition is going to be to Orcs. Hopefully, they're the next book. I don't know exactly what's going on with all of the leagues and all of the new miniatures for Tau. So it looks like Tau might be set up for next, unless you guys know better than me. But I see Orcs coming out down the pipeline in a couple weeks, and hopefully they have a good book.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody will find something good in there.
Well, Orcs are always fun, so I know they'll find something fun for Orcs specifically.
Oh, yeah.
And you know how I am, always taking them to ATC, right? They're my to-go-to army. To toot my horn a little bit, I took Orcs, in 2021, Matt? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Let's see, 20 would have been 22.
22, won best general.
Yeah, that's the year we had Nick on our team. Yep.
Correct. Yep. We had Nick on our team as well. Best general and best in faction as well. So I won both of those awards. Got me a big, beautiful trophy. If you've never been to ATC, it is actually one of the funnest events that I've ever been to. It's not how to play 40K the best way, but I think it is the funnest way to actually play 40K. I really do.
Yeah, you and I both had unblemished records that year.
Yeah.
Just my 0 was on the other end from where yours was.
Yeah, but you took one for the team, dude. You took one for the team, and I love that. I love that you did that.
As captain, I tried to jump on all the grenades so you guys didn't have to.
Gave me all the favorable matchups, even though 3 games I got teched into Meta Necrons at that point in time. Once again, they're doing it again. But I got teched into Meta Necrons. I got teched into Knights. They were doing pretty well. Imperial Knights were doing pretty well around that time as well. I had a little fubbish, little wrong, little hiccup that I had throughout the games. I played a rule improperly just for one little section of the game. But I corrected it, and I talked to the TO judge and things like that, make sure that I mended myself.
Yeah. Well, yeah, your list only had 1 or 2 things it needed to avoid. That was a really good Orcs list, and I tried to steer myself into those.
Well, it was really good at the time too because that's when you can take blood axes,
Yeah.
and the blood axes allowed you to get a 5-up feel no pain against mortar wounds, and that was strong in that meta. That was
Yeah.
real strong in that meta, especially when they had Thousand Suns running rampant. They had Tyranids. Um, Grey Knights were in flux. I don't remember. No, Grey Knights were actually doing very well because Harpster, I believe, he brought Grey Knights and he was doing all of the crazy
No, that was
upsy
this
down.
year. That was this year.
Oh, that was this year? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, 2 years ago. It's hard to remember 2 years ago.
Those orcs had OBSEC too. That was the big one.
Yep.
It wasn't an army wide. It was army wide OBSEC with that skulls, I think.
Yes, it was. Yes,
yeah,
it was.
And that was huge because you were playing 125 models or something.
That was the thing. Yeah, that list was designed to do, just swarm the table and get so many points. That's why it was our Necron beater, because it could keep the Necrons in their zone and not let them go and auto 45 all their objectives by turn 3, is what they were doing in most matchups.
Exactly. Yeah, the Mega Knobs were clutch, but Mega Knobs are usually very clutch anyways.
Yeah, and Nick did pretty good with his Thousand Suns at that event too.
Yep.
Yes, he did.
I saw some real bad tables, especially like getting blown up by Tau in one game. But
oh yeah,
no, it was good. It was good. Had some really excellent games. Really good game against Sisters that I lost against an excellent Sisters player. I think I ended up 3-3, so it was really great experience.
But you were one of our defensive lists. Your job wasn't always to win; it was to lose close a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've definitely transitioned more into being like more of an attack oriented. I think right now I'm leaning towards playing armies for me personally that have advance and charge, that are going to be aggressive style, primary. I would say primary domination armies, stuff like that. So that's what I'm focused on now.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, you need a good balance of that when you go to ATC. You need attacker, you need defender, and you need just kind of take at least one take all comer, I think.
Yeah, and that's why I picked the orcs. That's why I'm always playing the orcs. I like the all comers list. I've always liked their play style, right? That's why I've always enjoyed taking orcs to ATC. Yep. They play the objective. They play the game real well, right? Yeah. Hopefully in the new book they continue to play the game very well, and that's the biggest part. If you're a competitive player, you want to win the game, right? That's a caveat to having fun and interacting with your opponents. Most importantly, just to remind everyone, right? We play these games together, not against each other. Yep. So we play with each other, but it's usually very fun to play with orcs. You lose 20 models, 30 models a turn. You're like, really? Like, it doesn't bother you, and it actually teaches you basically the ability to not really care about the models that you're losing, right? Like, I've taught people in my community, hey, why don't you try out orcs just for a little while to get out of that notion of, oh, I'm losing a model, the game is over, and people get a little tilted or they get a little sad. Usually when you play armies like that, you start understanding the value of how to play the game and play for the game, as opposed to caring about the models themselves and what you're playing with, right? So then it teaches you how to position a lot better, teaches you how to maneuver a lot better, which I still feel, and if you guys agree as well, I still feel like movement and deployment are the two most advanced steps in 40K.
Oh yeah.
If you get those wrong, right, you're not going to perform well.
Yeah. Anybody can math hammer out the damage a unit can do. It's getting it in right position, denying position, getting cover. When do you let them get? Yeah, that's all the stuff that. But I will say, I still don't like you losing units and models.
Especially when you're playing custodes or knights, right?
Yeah. But that's one thing I like about the newer editions, the way the objectives and the secondaries all that work, is if you lose a unit, if it achieved you points, I feel like it was worth it. Like back in the day, like in the older editions, you didn't score objectives till turn 5 or 6. So in the middle of the game, you lose a unit. You're like, crap, I lost a unit. Now you're like, oh, I lost that unit. Oh, they got me 10 points. So it's like,
exactly.
It's fine. It's easier to lose units if you're losing them for a specific reason that's advancing your cause. Denying points, gaining points. That helps with the losing units mentally too.
Yeah, your perception changes, right? Like you learn to play the game and value playing the game itself as opposed to the units and the
Yeah.
interactions of those.
Well, 'cause, yeah, and then I've noticed that's a big change, which a lot of older gamers have a little issue with. Is it used to be about winning the fight? Now it's about winning the scoreboard, which can cause a lot more passive play and stuff, which a lot of old timers that used to just like to meet in the middle of the table and smash their armies out, which I still enjoy that play style as a wolf player. I'd still rather just win or lose, have another combat army. We just throw all our units into each other and win. But I've able
Well,
to adapt and know how to, if I need to,
I,
play the
I
point trade game.
I would say luckily with the reduced board size that we have in this edition,
Mhm.
and also every mission except for Vital Ground has a center objective. Really, passive play is not going to win you games. You have to at least react and respond to what's
Yeah,
happening in the center of the table, or else you're just
yeah,
really not in the game.
yeah. I find now being patiently aggressive
Yeah.
is the best way to play, as opposed to just aggressive out the gate.
Correct. Yeah, I like to call it methodical play, right?
Yeah.
Like I like to, even with world eaters, right? Even with world eaters, my play style is different than Nick's is. I also know another community member that I have high regards to as a good player. It's a very good player. James Zizzo. He actually has a different play style when it comes to world eaters as well. I'm not the ultra aggressive type of world eaters player. And specifically when it comes to Angron, and even more so now after the data slate. But I'm more of a mid board, kind of put myself in a position to threaten people, right? If I do catch people off guard, they put their armies in a deployment line. I'll take my chances and I'll play CeeLo, right? I'll roll those dice and see if I can destroy 3/4 of their army. I've done it before.
Yep.
Very fast. They're very scary for those of you who've never played into them or played with them. Uh, they're fun. They're fun for me.
But no, yeah, nowadays controlling midboard and your side is all you really have to do. Like you really don't have to take the opponent's deployment zone very often to win games now.
I agree.
That used to
I
be
agree.
a major thing you had to do. Like if you couldn't make it to their side, you were going to lose. Now you just got to get to midboard and win the fight in the middle, and you'll win more games than you lose.
Yeah, something I've noticed with that primary scoring is that a lot of times I think at a high level, like between really really good players playing like with the top end stuff, a lot of times the primary score might be the same, or it might be a 5 point differential. It
Hmm.
might be generally those primary scoring is going to be very very close because they're going to take and give just as much as they need to keep scoring, right? And they have enough resources to do so until turn 5 because that's their plan.
Yeah.
So what that creates is more of a scenario where you're gonna score more based on the secondaries. So does that mean like, oh, you're gonna be at a big advantage because you're playing nids because you can put down spore mines, or maybe you have more units in reserve, or maybe you have more deep strikers, or maybe you have a 3-inch deep strike. So there's this whole other toolbox that you need in order to score secondaries, and that's you see that represented a lot of, like, I guess, on like in for high level play for tournaments when you're doing your GTs and your majors and everything.
Yeah, and what helps with that too is a lot of events are skewing away from straight battle points as tiebreakers and rankings and going more towards strength of schedule, which means you have to worry more about winning the game than necessarily maxing the game. So it gives you a
Correct.
chance to not necessarily have to be as aggressive, to play a little more patiently. Whereas it used to be like, oh, I'm paired into another good player. I get 80 points, but I win, and I played the best game I could, and someone else gets paired against some new player and just doesn't even have to try and gets a max score. Well, I can't catch them, especially in like a 3 or 4 round event. Whereas now, if they do that and that person loses their other 2 games, ends up 0-3, and my guy wins his other 2, yeah, you
Yep.
scored more points than me, but I'm gonna have higher strength of schedule.
Yeah, and I learned a great tip from a great player named um, Quentin Johnson. He told
You
me
man,
that he's a wonderful person, wonderful individual.
He's awesome.
Big love, big heart to that individual.
Fun
he's
fact.
come a long way.
Say it again.
I said he's come a long way.
Yes, he's come a long way. Correct.
He used to be one of
Um,
those easy wins, and now he's like, crap, I got Quentin.
Yeah.
Yeah, but best Eldar
Well,
player I've ever played against.
he was telling me that sometimes if you got to make improper movements sometimes you might have to sacrifice a unit for the betterment of the game, right? And I took it better than a grain of salt. I took it in stride. So I kind of took it into the heart. I internalized it and I said to myself, you know what? He's absolutely right. Sometimes you might just have to bait out maybe a unit or whatnot, so they can jump and try to kill your unit or kill your unit just to claim some points or take something away from someone.
Well, yeah, and assess the matchup, assess them. Are they going to have the advantage late game, or do they have the advantage early game? If they're going to have the advantage late game, then you got to push and get what points you can before. And if you notice, no, you'll probably land late game. Maybe you give up a couple points early, waiting for when you have the advantage, as opposed to necessarily trying to keep pace with them every single turn on the scoreboard. You need to see.
Correct.
You need to beat them in 5 rounds, not necessarily every single round.
Correct. What's your thoughts, Nick?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's something I can relate to that a lot personally. Because with my play style, the armies I play, different armies, of course, but something I like to focus on a lot is playing for 5. So playing to have resources left at the end of the game. You want to have some sort of point scoring mechanic that you could still execute during turn 5. So whether that's a unit of scouts or a Calidus assassin or a spore mine, you need to have something in your list that can accomplish that. Like when you have almost no resources left, you might only have 1 or 2 units left at the end of the game, and you just have to like leave that card in your deck, I guess. Another big one is playing the tacticals, planning for the worst case scenario, and you can put yourself in a position preemptively to score these secondaries before you draw them. So there's that, what's the percentage that I draw this card,
Yeah.
So you have to, I guess, set yourself up to score the sort of scoring the secondaries is a big one.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I know you're a champion of the secondaries. We talked about that before.
Yeah, I have an in-depth we'll do a show about that later in February, but I have I'm going to do a PowerPoint about that, about so some of it has to do with how the cards score differently, how they value differently, and like what cards you want to look for as your value cards for different armies and so on.
So you heard that here first, right? So get ready for that. I'm excited for that myself. He hasn't talked to me about that either, but I love when he goes in depth with those secondaries or how Nick is one of those type of individuals. He goes deep into that rabbit hole, right? And he tries to get the maximum understanding of things. As of right now, we were talking earlier about guard and how guard is so cheesy in so many ways, right? So go ahead, Matt. Were we going to say something? I'm sorry.
I was just still talking about basic strategies. You don't do something just to be doing something. Like,
yes,
ask yourself why you're doing something. Am I actually achieving something, or just feel like, well, I should probably move this unit because I can? Like, what are the results of doing it? Like, just because you feel like you should be doing something doesn't mean you need to do something.
Correct. True indeed. So, here's our introductions. We kind of talked about the armies we liked, how we are, what we do in the community themselves. I just wanted to give a little recap to everyone why we are here today. So, OCS, right? Onslaught Candidate School. What is the Onslaught Candidate School? Onslaught Candidate School is taking gamers and bridging that gap of high level understanding and low level understanding, which I like to call novice level, right? Where people, we want to kind of match it up, right? Make sure everybody's on a equal playing field and people are understanding the game, the interactions, the rules themselves, specifically the core rules. I don't ever claim to be the best judge in the world. I do not claim to be infallible. But I tell you what, I try very hard. Nick, Matt, they know that. A lot of my community members, if not all of them, know that. I try my best to try to learn everything. That is my responsibility at my events that I run. I want to make sure that I give you clear, concise decisions and judgments on my rulings, right? So OCS, what I have done as of recently, other than bringing these two wonderful gentlemen onto the show, right, is having seminars on Friday nights at Warforge in Seminole, Florida. Warforge Tabletop Games is a game store, predominantly just about everything, to be honestly. There's no, I do retract that. There's no predominantly to anything they do. They do Dungeons and Dragons, they do board games, they do 40K. They have a wonderful TO under the Onslaught umbrella as well that does Age of Sigmar. But what I've been doing is creating these seminars, and I'll usually have a particular topic that we'll talk about. Today is more of an introduction of ourselves. In the coming weeks, coming on Tuesday, we should be able to do an after Grand Onslaught 7 post report, and then we'll talk about the data slates there as well. I don't mind if everyone has a question now, they want to ask any questions about the data slates or the rules themselves. Go ahead, feel free to make sure like, subscribe, and share. But what OCS is about, it's a nonprofit school that allows all skill levels of Warhammer 40K players to learn new techniques and have a more comprehensive understanding of the rules. The premise of the school is not to give you rules as intended. Only the GW rules writers can give you that intent. What OCS does is break down the rule and gives you an understanding of how it works rules as written in the core rulebook or in the data slates or any FAQs and things like that. There's a lot of instructors that we have now. We have 2 other instructors right now live on stream. I know that Matt is not readily accessible or local, rather, right? He lives actually in a different state. We're actually in Florida. He's in Virginia area. And Nick is local to me as well. So me and Nick get to a lot of face-to-face time. We get to I don't think we've actually played a game against each other. You've been scared. You've been ducking me, man.
Oh yeah, we gotta.
Nick
You gotta
likes
get your
competition.
Oh, okay. Oh, we gotta get a game. We gotta get your
Shots
World Eaters.
fired. Shots fired.
World Eaters versus CSM. It's a tough one.
Hey, Lewis, we got a question for you in the chat.
Oh yeah, I see. What a wonderful individual.
Yeah. I'm not sure who that is. You know who Metal Beard is?
That is what I like to call Middle Spoon. I'm Little Spoon. That's Middle Spoon. Big Spoon was Jordan. I know who you are, Nick.
No,
right?
I asked.
But not everybody else.
I didn't know who it was. All right, I know Nick. Nick and I've got some games in.
But Big Spoon, we haven't seen Big Spoon in a long time. That's Jordan. So we haven't been complete or in sync as of late, but it's all right.
My Little Spoon's David.
David is a huge guy to be a Little Spoon.
Had to give him away to Kayla now. Now he's Daddy David.
Man, David.
Yeah, I'm trying to draw him back in. Have you tried?
Well, it's hard for me because I'm not there local. If I was local, I'd get him to come play me all the time. But now that I moved away.
Yeah, but you can call him, you can bug him real quick, right? And tell him, hey, go into an event. I try to get him to Grand Onslaught 7 and, you know, the typical David.
No, he'll try to get me on TTS at like 2 in the morning if I mess him.
I've had so many great games against David. I mean, I've had at least 3 epic games against him.
David is. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Nick.
No, it's fine. I was gonna say my first ever 40K tournament. I go and I play him like in round 3 at an RTT, and he just crushes me. Like my Death Guard army just got demolished by Grey Knights. Like it wasn't close. It wasn't close at all. And I'm like, oh, I guess that's a way to play. You can play this game. So it's like that just set me on a course to where I've gone.
Oh yeah, whenever I'm playing against somebody and they complain about how well I bubble out my zone, it's because of David, and I think it was 6th edition. He was playing Grey Knights and drop guard with the what are those elite guard units called? I can't remember. The ones that used to get all the plasma and stuff.
Casterkins.
No, those were forecasters. This was back in 6th edition.
Tempestus Scions.
Tempestus Scions. Yep.
Tempestus,
Tempestus
yeah.
Scions and Grey Knights, and you only had to put like and sisters thing. I think it had like Celestine as like sisters back in the building, and they had all these Grey Knights and Guard and Reserve. He had like 2 units on the board. It was like, it was ridiculous.
They need to bring that back because lore wise, Imperial Soup is the best army in 40K.
Oh, I loved Imperial Soup. My Blood Angels Guard was doing great that one year when Warhammer won best team. I was killing with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were, especially when you soup Guard with Space Wolves, and you had, I think, Knights and something else.
It was Knights, Blood Angels, and Guard, because that's back when we had like the Smash Captains and everything for Blood Angels.
That's what it was.
And the Death Company was just brutal with that pregame move.
What was that called?
Yep.
Was that like the Dirty 30 or something? Because you took like 30 conscripts to give you 12 CP or something like that?
No, it was the Loyal.
Oh, the Loyal.
Well, 32 or something.
Because
you had to take the 2 little characters.
Yeah, the Loyal 32, yeah.
Because it gave you
they would die.
Yeah, but I did different. I actually ran 3 tank commanders with the Knights. So I still took the cheap guards, but I actually took tank commanders. My guard actually did more than just give me CP.
Yeah, you got it right, Nick. Where's Dylan at? Is he sleeping? We're gonna call him the Big Spoon now. Dylan's the new Big Spoon.
Yeah.
It was it two tank commanders and 30 guardsmen?
No, I think it was 2
company
or 3
commanders.
tank commanders. It was a Castellan, like I'm trying to remember back then, maybe 2 Helvrins, and then the Smash Captain, Death Guard or Death Company, and then like Scouts, because I think that's back when Scouts were troop, like, and they had the sniper. Like, it was
They
a long
were,
time
weren't
ago.
they?
Scouts were troop for a long time.
That's right. Then they changed them to the elites. That's right. And then they did what the Space Wolves lore is, because Space Wolves Scouts are elite choices, right? Or they're considered the more elite type of models, which is kind of weird. And then when I saw the transition and went over, and I was like, all of them are elite or whatever they are now. I was like, pretty odd.
Yeah, because they used to be like 50, 55 points or something. They're like half the cost of attack squad, so you just take them to fill out your force org.
Oh yeah, they were a nickel to get. They were a nickel. They were so cheap. You just put them on an objective, they die, so what? Rinse and repeat. You throw another unit on top of it, rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
I think was it.
So go ahead, chat. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Ask us your questions if you have any questions. Would love to hear them. This is the first one, so please make sure, once again, to like, subscribe to Almost Functional. Send feet pictures to Nick. All right, DM him feet pictures.
Yeah, the crustier the better.
And we're talking about Tau Nick. Send them to Tau Nick.
I'm talking about Nick here. Yeah.
Send Tau Nick hoof pictures. He likes hooves.
Yeah. So, my TikTok is Lil D McGee. You just send it over.
Oh my God.
Send them to me at David Ozawa on Facebook.
Hey, that's not your name.
Hush.
Oh my gosh. So how's everyone doing tonight? Good. Let's not jump to any conclusions about Tau Nick here. Oh my gosh. We won't do that. We won't jump to any conclusions. We won't infer, and we will not try to live by intent. Only by raw. Hey, Nick, if you want to tell them about our little interactions that we had earlier talking about Guard and stuff like that. And
yeah, so there's some stuff going on with Guard, but it's a little bit esoteric, I think. But I think we should do. So we just got the slate. So we're recording this on Thursday, right? And we just got the slate last Tuesday. So last week, all the GT size events from last week generally didn't use the new rules, most of them. So we have no real data about the slate yet. But then this week we're having Onslaught. You know, we have Grand Onslaught 7, which I think has 60 players. So we have a huge GT over here. Amazing people. Prize support is off the charts.
Amazing people.
Yeah, it's just going to be fantastic time. And the great thing about it is that it's new. It's like kind of there's that it's that discovery phase of the, I guess, of the edition or of this patch, because this is only the second data slate of this edition. So we've got basically brand new stuff coming out. I mean, you could say Necrons haven't changed, but maybe for everyone else except Necrons, we got new stuff to work with. And and yeah, it's there's a lot of room to explore, like new armies and stuff like that. I wanted to ask you guys what's your takeaway, like what's your I guess like a synopsis. What do you think will happen with the GT with Grand Onslaught? Like in terms of the meta game, like are we going to see Sisters of Battle, taking it down, crushing everybody, or do you think there's something else in there?
Monoliths, man, all day.
Monoliths. So you think it's going to be like
No.
it's LVO all over again?
Yeah.
Oh, all over again. Just 3 of them. Just take 3 of them and just deep strike them.
Do you think they're going to score capture enemy outpost during round 1?
Not if you know what you're doing.
That's a good point, Lou. I mean, that's a good point, Matt.
Yeah.
Not if you just take an infiltrator squad. You can't even deploy bad enough for that to happen.
Speaking of which, I like how they changed the new rules. I like how they changed the infiltrator's ability, how you're able to redeploy and still have infiltrate, things like that. I really like that
actual
change.
infiltrator 12-inch deep strike Space Marine unit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the actual infiltrate rule, how they changed that with redeploy is nice.
It is. It's really nice. I love the clarifications. I love 95% of everything that kind of went in transition with the new updates. I think they did great by us. I still think me and Nick, still think that Necrons are like very powerful, but we'll see, right? Like, I'm not one to jump the gun or knee jerk that quickly.
Yeah.
I think that after this Saturday, this grand tournament that we're having in Seminole, I think that we'll have a little bit more data.
Mm-hmm.
Also, make sure to watch stat checks as well. They have a meta dashboard, meta beta dashboard or something like that. They also do statistics. I believe they're going to be doing statistics on Grand Onslaught 7 as well. So that'll just give us good value, good data, right, on everything that's going on. And then obviously Games Workshop always drops their meta watch that they do. And they omitted World Eaters that I pointed out to Nick. Like, where did World Eaters go, Nick?
Well, here's the
they didn't
crazy
even have
thing.
them on the list.
So we know that Custodes went up a lot in power objectively from this patch. This is a really good update for Custodes, but I think your Chaos Marines, your World Eaters, these combat armies, I think are still going to be doing better. They're going to be doing great. It somehow helps them as well, even after the nerfs, just because of the whole. I think the whole big picture still has combat or melee armies being in a really good, healthy spot.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Yeah, Nick's asking about what we think about the aura stacking.
Yeah.
So it's.
So what do you think? What do you think, Matt?
I think it's just like anything that's that big a generic change. Like, I'm sure there was something they had in mind that they was fixing, but someone's going to find something to break it, and then they'll have to add exclusions here and there to fix it. So I think generally it's fine, but there's going to be things they overlook between all these books that are going to be something people take advantage of, that they're like, oh, we didn't think of that. I mean, there always is.
People trying to take advantage of things in 40K? What?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm sure. I don't know what the exact combo is off my head, but there's going to be 1 or 2 things that are just like, all right, it's absurd that they can stack this now.
Surely people wouldn't take advantage of Imperial Guard orders.
What were you up to? 19, Nick?
I think
19 orders in one round? It's just like, what?
You could strat for 20, I guess, too, but yeah.
Yeah, but can you fate dice Wraith Knight for mortal wounds?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Oh yeah, yes, Nick. Corn, Red Master gives Corn. Bloodletters, Juggernauts, +1 strength, +1 AP, and +1 damage. So now you have, yes, that works just like that. And also, So you're aware, right? So for you Necron players, if you have a Catan and you half damage my 1 damage characteristic, I still get the +3 damage, so you still take 4 damage.
Oh yeah. Halving happens before adding. That's absolutely correct.
That's right. That's right.
It's please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
I think that's exactly how Corn should work, especially if they're hitting Tau. I think it should be 10 damage against Tau.
Yes. What are they anyways? Are they fish or are they cows? Come on, which one? Like, and have you noticed all of their vehicles, or if not all of them, have fish names? Piranha. What was the other ones? Hammerhead.
Skyray.
I don't know.
Yeah, what?
Skyray. They're all like fish names.
Yeah, well, you guys
But
are
they're
from Florida, so you've seen the same. They're like half cow, half fish, kind of like a manatee. They're like descendants of manatees, I think, not actually fish.
Devilfish. Thank you, Nick. Yeah. Yeah, it gets real crazy.
Yeah.
It gets real crazy. Okay, so a lot of people like to say this is probably bad for the game, but I think I don't want to think for Games Workshop, but I've been told by individuals that are a lot smarter than me when it comes to the rules designs team, right? You have to look at things in a vacuum, right? Matt likes to say that a lot. You have to look at things in a vacuum, right? Something that's good for one army can be oppressive in another army. So should both armies have that? No, because that's kind of their strengths, right? Allowing bloodletters to kind of be a glass hammer, because that's essentially what they are, because they die quickly, right? They're only like a 5-up or something like that with 1 wound.
Yeah, well, it depends on what they hit. If they're hitting some little T3 1 wound unit, all those buffs aren't doing anything. But if they go into knights, well, now all of a sudden that little bloodletter unit's taking down knights. So yeah, it's just you got to have the tools to deal with them.
Yeah, you just got to make sure that they don't deep strike within 6 inches, 3 inches of you, things like that, right? Screen out your units. Practice your army out, right? Try to practice techniques out where you're teaching yourself how to screen out, how to bubble out, like Matt said, right? Those are very important, right? Like I had a seminar around 2 weeks ago where I just went over just straight up how to deploy, right? And I was just teaching people how to screen out on particular missions. Like this rabbit hole goes very deep because there's different missions, there's different layouts, there's different particular genres of armies, right? So you have shooty armies, close combat armies, you have armies that do a little bit of both, like Marines. Blah. It's all about chaos and Xenos, baby, for me. But things like that, right? So be cognizant of those things. Be cognizant that you don't just play this game like checkers and just throw things forward and hope for a win. You got to be a little bit methodical. You got to kind of plan out your movement. Try to screen out your whole back 40. Try to invest in your army no matter how small of model count you have. Try to cover as much as that table board as you can, right? Because first of all, you want every objective. You want to be greedy. You want every objective in the game, right? But you also want to screen out for any deep striking units. And things are going to die, right? And gaps are going to be left open. But that's where you kind of readjust. Like I've been telling a lot of people, I am not the biggest fan of Dawn of War, right? That deployment style is probably the worst in this edition. It used to be my favorite back in the days. How many did we have before, Matt? It was only like 3? I think we had 3 different.
It depends on what edition you're talking about. Like in 3rd edition, you had Dawn of War, and then you had Table Quarters. That was basically it.
Search and Destroy, yeah.
Yeah, it was called Search and Destroy, but yeah, it was Table Quarters.
Yeah.
And you used to score points. You'd win the game by controlling the most table quarters at the end of the game, or killing the most victory points.
Yeah. So now, like I've been, kind of teaching people at the seminars and the OCS students. It's basically if you're in a Dawn of War situation that is not favorable for you and your army, right? Because it does put you in a Napoleonistic type of deployment, right? So you kind of spread out. You only have those 10 inches to actually put your army in there. If you have larger models like, the Necron constructs and things like that, you can't actually fit those in there. Lord of Skulls, I don't think fits in there as well. I think the Lord of Skulls is just above 10 inches or something like that. But what I've been telling people is kind of transition to where they're at Dawn of War and transition to Hammer and Anvil, right? So kind of try to take the left or right quadrant inside of the board and try to maneuver and let that be kind of your first turn, right? And it you might lose a turn in that, right? And it only leaves you with 4. But I haven't seen it, at least with the particular armies that I play, I haven't seen it to be a deficit for me. I've actually seen it to be an advantage, and it actually throws players off guard as well. They're like, oh, wow, you just maneuvered everything to one deployment or one entire side of controlling these 2 quadrants. And I'm like, yeah, essentially, I want to either treat this like a Hammer and Anvil or like a Search and Destroy, where we're just coming out of a quadrant for Search and Destroy, right? So I try to kind of do either one of the 2, right? Depending on the layouts, because obviously the terrain matters, right? You want to make sure that you're hiding your units behind terrain, or you're positioning yourself. So if you're a close combat army, you're kind of jumping behind ruin and behind another ruin and ruin, right? So it's really subjective to the type of game and army and deployment and layout and things like that. But be cognizant of those things, right? Like look at it when, just take 5 minutes, right? I usually, at my events, I usually give people between 5 to 15 minutes for setup, right? Take those 5 minutes and say to yourself, hey, all right, so this is the deployment I have. This is the layout. This is where the terrain is positioned. How can I optimize my experience in this game and making sure that I can get as many points as I can?
Yeah. And sometimes if you got over 10 inches, you just got to find a way to make it fit. but no, like you're saying, like the changing from Dawn of War to Hammer and Anvil, that also comes into deployment. So if you have faster units, you put your slower units, say, on the right, your faster units on the left. That way they all can kind of end up on the same side. Or if you have stuff that has redeploy or movement shenanigans, like you deploy it so your opponent doesn't see that coming. You don't want them to know you're going to try to do that, because then they can prep for it.
Yep.
Well, if you turn the Lord of Skulls sideways, it fits, right? I mean, it's not that wide.
Yeah, I think he
can. Which one?
The Lord of Skulls is narrow one way, but there's some some of the flyers. There are some stuff that no matter how you deploy it, it won't quite fit in
the Tau. What's it called? Manta.
Might be the Manta. Aircraft. Yeah, I think there's one of the big Imperial ones that Bear used to run. He had trouble fitting in certain deployments. It would hang off the edge.
Shout out to Big Bear, by the way. I love that guy. He is sponsoring at Grand Onslaught 7 a Chaos Bolter. Looks so sweet.
Yep.
I'll throw it on the video. I'll have videos at Grand Onslaught 7 as well. But shout out to that man right there. Didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm gonna, Matt, real quick, because that man used to run like what, 3 floor. How many flyers did he run back in the days?
There was like 7 of them, I think. Like it was called the Air Force.
Oh.
Yeah, he almost made the shadow round. He almost made the shadow round on LVO with that, or he did and lost the first round. I can't remember exactly what happened, but
yeah.
But yeah, he came close to winning LVO with that thing. Probably like 4 or 5 years ago.
And how many?
Like 4 or 5, I think, a while ago.
So that was like 8th edition, the end of 8th edition, I think.
Yeah, it would have been 8th edition. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was my first LVO when it happened.
Yeah. Shout out to LVO FLG, by the way, too. Love Frontline Gaming and love their events. It's definitely a different play style when you go on player placed. And that's where I would bring Lord of Skulls. Playing World Eaters, I don't even want to touch Lord of Skulls, because the maneuvering on the GW terrain can be challenging.
Marine Flyers, Tao, or Nick.
Nick
Nick was asking. It was Imperial Flyers, not necessarily all Marine. It was like
Guard Flyers,
the Valkyrie or Vendetta or whatever, and like
it was.
You could still suit back then, I think.
Vultures. It was 3 Vultures.
He had 3 Vultures. He had a couple of the big Forge World Flyers. I don't remember if he had Storm Waves. Like it was just a mix of a bunch of different Imperial Flyers.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was obnoxious. That Vulture had like 40 shots, like 43 shots or something like that. It was strength 501. But with the 3 airplanes, it was like 129 shots.
That was when bombers were overpowered too. I think the bombs did huge damage.
Yes.
You couldn't
Oh, yeah,
prevent it.
flyers were dumb. They could
Wasn't
hold
even an attack.
objective, like they could score points and stuff. This was
They
before they
could.
fixed all that.
But I mean, we have spore mines. They can do that now too. So.
Yeah, but spore mines can't table you and score points like the flyers could. You
Touche,
couldn't kill
good
them.
sir.
You couldn't charge them.
Touche.
No, it was dumb, and he admitted it was dumb, but it was an LVO list.
Hey, you know, when you go to compete, you go for the win, man. You go for the win. Simple as that. As cheesy as that might sound sometimes, and most of the fun is about having fun. But you know, as my favorite basketball coach would say, what's more fun than winning? Winning is more fun than fun is fun.
Yep.
Sometimes.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, I mean, there are exceptions to like when people push
Well,
stuff too far, but
Yeah, what I mean, the caveat to that, right, is that don't be a dick, right? Like, don't be a bad person. Don't be someone who's just playing the army and you're just trying to take advantage of people, and then you're also being, you know, asshole-ish as well. Like, no, you don't want to do that, right? Like, you obviously don't want to be that. But breakdown, like I like to tell people, I like to tell all of the community themselves, right? Let them know, hey, have great game etiquette, right? Like, tell them about your army, what your army does. I don't like when people have these surprises or where they pull these hats out of, you know, and they just say, oh, and you go to charge them, you set up your whole round, and you go to charge them, they're like, oh, by the way, I can fall back these 6 inches. And make it ineligible, and make myself an ineligible target, right? Like, those are kind of got yous, right? Yeah. Because if I know the rules as well as you do, and I'm talking about novice players, right? If I know the rules and understand the rules as well as you do, I would already know that, right? Yeah. So don't try to game the system. Don't try to game players. Like, once again, I reiterate, right? We're playing this together, right? Even though we're competing amongst each other, right? But we're playing this together. So it's all about fun at the end of the day.
Yeah, you should have let them know at least once if you have tricks like that.
Yeah.
Like, if they keep moving up and trying to do it, like, you don't have to remind them 100 times. Eventually, you're like, I told you.
No, it's also the active player's responsibility to ask as well, right?
Yeah.
So it's both players' responsibility. Like, once you've already stated what your army does, if you forget it, right, then you should be on the table trying to get the information out of him to remind yourself, like, hey man, I my intention is to kind of go towards this unit and fight it. Is there anything that you can do other than Overwatch to me, right? Can you fall back? Can you have stratagems that make me -1 damage, things like that? Like, that's all open source, open information, right? Nobody should be withholding any information.
No, if someone specifically asks you something, you tell them. Like, you don't try to hide it or disguise it, or like, well, maybe if no, you just tell them.
Yeah, that's called angle shooting. We talked about that in the code of conduct before.
Yeah.
Or at least it used to be called angle shooting back in the days from the FLG code of conduct.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like people who like complain and whine the whole game while they're beating you.
Yes. Yeah.
I had this orc player do that to me one time.
Hush. Hey, when you're a war boss. Yeah. Well, I didn't complain the whole game. I complained when my war boss rolled a bunch of ones, and then I forgot the rules, right? And I thought it cost me the game. And I was like,
You just tabled me on turn 3 instead of turn 2 with your freebooters into my knights, which was like auto loss.
Orcs were obnoxious. That's when it was that was the Speed Freaks, right?
Was it the Speed Freaks? Yeah, whatever. Where you had the, like, all the little rockets and everything. We went to that tournament, and me and who I was playing next to you. We hadn't even finished deploying, and you guys were packing up because you had already tabled the knights.
I'm over here reading Tao Nick's comments. It's 20. It's like, that's ridiculous. Bloodletters with 20 attacks. I think they have more than that.
Well, Lewis, I was going to say,
on the size of the unit.
Well, in response to what you're saying,
mans, right? So 2 attacks each.
no one really wants to see a 40k game over that quick, right? Like no one wants to get set up their three Imperial Knights and just get table turn 1 and not get to play the game. You know,
No.
it's like I think at
No.
a really, especially at a high level, I mean that's what you're going for.
Yeah.
You know, you might win or you might lose at the end of the day, right? But if you get to play all 5 rounds, like at least you have a complete experience and you have room to improve
Right.
because you actually got to play those turns and see the dice rolls, see the abilities and so on, all the outcomes of the secondary deck. And you know, there's all these different mechanics in the game, and it's like if you're blown away on turn 1, like you never get to experience any of it.
Yeah. Bloodletters are only 10-man units now. You can't do the 20 anymore.
Yeah, 10.
No.
I don't know.
Lewis,
Tell Nick, tell him. I don't know how many you could take in a unit.
Yeah, I think with the new Demon stuff, they were limited to 10 model units. You used to be able to take like 20 mans. I think I remember people complaining about that.
It's capped at 10. But Lewis, I was gonna say, so you know how the MOE with the glaive is dead, right? Like he's never coming back. There's a new MOE with the glaive now. So you got to take 3 corn skull thrones, right, for the stacking ability. And then you got to take 10 bloodletters with the Skullmaster, I think, or the Skull Taker. Gives them devlins, right? So then you have your bloodletters charged into 1 target, and you got flat damage 5 and devlins on your bloodletter unit. So it's still there. It just costs like 6 times as many points now, but it's still there.
Sorry,
I think Matt went on a bathroom break.
No, fancy mouse, and apparently there's a back button on the side of the mouse, and I hit it.
Yes, I have one of those buttons too. I have one of those fancy mouses too, and I was in a webinar one day talking to people, and I accidentally pressed some button that's like angled on the side, and it like deleted everything and closed my whole browser out. I was like, ah! But yeah, no, you're right, Nick. You're right. Shout out to that guy, by the way, that Matt witnessed me when I was playing Speed Freaks. By the way, I was totally biased with that army because I was a 1A cavalry, right, in Fort Hood, Texas. So I used to drive on M1A2 Abrams tanks, Step 2, and so I love anything cavalry based, right? Vehicles, a bunch of vehicles, you know, formations and things like that. But shout out to that dude that I didn't even allow him to play the game. Basically, while everyone else was deploying their armies, I got first turn and killed a Castellan. I killed 2 Megaras and a Baby Knight. And that was like what it was like 7/8 of his army. And he looks at me, he was like, wow, good game, man. It's over. I'm sorry. Shout out to that guy. I'm sorry. It wasn't my fault.
That was at what was it, CCG2 or whatever, over in like Kissimmee or Orlando or whatever?
That was like in the Orlando area. Yeah, back in the days, a couple of years ago.
It's like
that was
freebooters with all the rockets.
Yeah, I think that was like an ATC, some sort of practice, a team event thing or something, right? Maybe, or was that a different one?
No, that was a solo event. That was a solo event.
But we did something. We did something like that over there one time, right? Some sort of ATC practice event or something.
I don't know.
Because I think we went with Jared.
Yeah, we used to travel so much, man. When you were down here, for people who don't know, like I always try to catch up with Matt throughout the year, right? We'll usually go to like ATC or something like that, some type of team event. And then me and Nick,
that's the best 40K.
Are going to Cherokee.
Yeah, it's like 2 weeks now.
Yeah, and I've been so busy at work, and I haven't got to play nearly as much as I normally do lately.
I'm still bringing World Eaters. I don't care. I still love my World Eaters. I'm going to play them relentlessly until the Orcs book drops. Simple as that.
Yep.
I'll figure it out. I'll practice some more.
Are we going to get Orcs back in the new codex? I mean, are we getting freebooters back? Like, is the vehicles coming back?
I don't think they're going to allow that.
they should set their unit size, like their FA, back to 9, because they because it used to be 9. You used to have 9 shock jump dragstas and WASBomb jets or whatever.
Oh yeah, they were. Well, they were units of 3, and you used to be able to take 3 units of them, so you could have 9.
Yeah.
It's a perfect strategy. I mean, they can just sell more models. Everyone will have to buy their stuff back.
Oh yeah.
I love it. I love it. So, hey guys, we're about to get off in about 5 minutes. So if you don't have any questions, please ask your questions now. Please also like, subscribe, and share with all of your friends in the Warhammer 40K, Age of Sigmar gaming community, whoever you know, your grandmother, your uncle. Please make sure to like, subscribe. Almost Functional as well. If you look down below, right around here, scrolling around in this direction here, make sure to subscribe to Almost Functional on YouTube as well. Matt also does his own exclusive things on YouTube. He does live videos. He does streaming. He does. I'll let you detail, Matt, exactly what you do. I don't want to kind of speak for you because I know you do a lot of great things.
Yeah, well, I did a lot of like data slate reviews and stuff, but we're all going to be doing that together now. It's just if I get something in my head, like I want to talk about tourniquet etiquette, or I want to talk about just really when I just feel like getting on and rambling about 40K, and I'm still working on trying to figure out how to do battle reports. I haven't been able to get the cameras so I can do multiple cameras yet, so I haven't been doing those, but I want to get battle reports going. And for anyone interested, I'm going to be doing old world content because I loved fantasy back in the day, so I'm working on building a Beastman army right now.
Yeah, baby. I'm waiting for my vampire counts. I don't know, because they're a legacy right now, it's been I've been kind of in limbo with the entire game system itself. I don't want to buy into humans. I've never been I'm a human in real life. Like, why do I need to play a human in a game, a fantasy game, right? Or a sci-fi game?
The legacy armies, from everything I've seen and heard, are pretty balanced with the other armies. The only thing you really lack is
for now
is named characters.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, really? For the legacies?
Yeah. Yeah. They have a whole book, a army book for the legacy armies, just like they have the Ravening Horde for chaos type evil stuff, and then they have the Forces of Fantasy for like Empire and elves and humans. But yeah, basically you just get that all the armies are in like one. There's 3 books: the Legacy, the Ravening Horde, and the Forces of Fantasy, and then everybody gets a little tiny arcane journal that gives you some named characters and maybe a couple extra magic items. But like the core of all the armies, everybody has. So unless you want to run a specific Von Karstein or something, you can make a really nice vampire lord and just name him whatever you want, and just he's a special character to you, but he's not in the lore.
There's an advantage there too, because the legacy armies are PDFs. They just said here's all these codexes. For
their armies are free. You can get all the legacy rules free. Like you don't actually have to buy a book.
Well, doesn't the one book have everything included in it, or no?
No, the legacy armies are all in a PDF, and you can buy a book with all the PDFs in it, I believe. But then the Forces of Fantasy has all the good elves, all the Empire, all the Bretonnians, all the dwarves, stuff like that. And then there's another one called Ravening Hordes that has orcs, beastmen, all the chaos, dark elves, stuff that's considered evil, technically,
Correct.
So there's 2 books for those. Those are all the supported ones that are going to get their own little arcane journal eventually. And then, but all the ones that are considered legacy, like Chaos Dwarves and Vampire Counts, they just have free PDFs, which have all the units, all the same amount of rules as the generic books. You're just not going to get the little arcane journal with the extra characters and stuff. And they're not technically tournament legal, but the community has pretty much said, unless it's a GW official event that bans them, all the local store tournaments are going to be allowing legacy armies. That's
right. I think every TO said it's all good. So
I'm excited. I'm really excited. I think everybody, I've heard kind of mixed reviews, 50-50. Some people have been talking about how because things have changed, their base sizes, because a lot of the armies being legacy and stuff like that, they don't want to really get into it. I'm going to give it the opportunity. Like I've told you guys before, I don't like to knee jerk. I don't like to jump the gun. I give it some time to marinate and see exactly how it is in a couple of months, right? And I think in a couple of months we'll understand too, just like the data slate for 40K now, right?
Yeah.
I think in a couple of weeks, a month or two,
And they kind of botched the rollout, so a lot of people don't even have the books yet.
Oh, was that Was that one of those limited things too, where you could only get a certain amount or a
It
certain amount?
sold out so quick. Like I don't think they really understood how popular it was going to be. And then with there was all the storm and stuff down in Texas and stuff. So like a lot of the stores didn't get their stuff in the U.S. on opening weekend.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So people in UK were posting all the pictures of their books, but nobody in the US had their stuff for like the first 2 weeks.
I know there's a lot of people playing this game right now because I mean, just for me personally, I'm not even a fantasy player, and I've had this painted Bretonian army sitting around for 6 years just waiting for this to come out. Now that it's here, I'm like, I've got it ready, and I'll learn the rule set and so on. So it's gonna be a good time. A lot more. It's an old school, fantasy. Definitely a more casual oriented game. It's not real tournament focused like 40K is. But
and I'm lucky.
You'll still see tournaments for it, I think.
Yeah, so I'm lucky because I didn't have a Beastman army. I got rid of all my stuff when they switched to AOS, so I don't have to rebase. I just ordered a bunch of MDF bases the right size, and just bought and luckily Beastman, all their AOS models, like their Vanguard box and all that, is the right models. So it was real easy to just buy a bunch of new stuff for Beastman.
Cool. All righty, everyone. So no comments on the chat. Nick, you got anything to say before we leave?
He might be gone.
Nope. That's it. I was going to say good luck, everybody. This weekend at the GT, it's going to be a blast. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I won't be there, but I'll be watching on that, not the app, on the mobile site, seeing
absolutely.
How doing.
I'll probably throw this. I'll probably have the tripod there. Throw it on stream so people can get an opportunity to at least watch some of the games, things like that. There are a lot of heavy hitters that are coming out. The entire community are wonderful people. I love them all, to be quite honest with you. I'm not trying to fabricate this. The people there who participate at Onslaught events are some of the nicest, best, kind of game etiquette players that we have in the game. As we know, and I like to brag, Florida has the best players in the world for 40K. As Art of War and everyone else that's part of Florida, right, likes to show. So make sure to tune in to that. Next Tuesday, we'll also be doing a show. We'll be doing another OCS training. We'll give you some post-analysis and data on what happened at Grand Onslaught 7. Hopefully, we can get the winner of that event to come in and be a guest and invite that individual. Also, please make sure to look on BCP for ATC Florida. That's going to be in April 13th, April 14th. Please sign up to that. Bring your team. Come and have a lot of fun. There's going to be tons of swag, lots of sponsors. Great time. It's going to be like 10 minutes from the beach, here in Clearwater, Florida. So please come out. Say hi to me. If not, come out this weekend to Seminole, Florida, and say hi to me and say hello to Nick as well. And then we'll throw you on a little chat or a video. You can say hi to Matt as well. There's going to be some special guests there. We're going to have the head judge and the Mr. Big Boss himself, Jacob Thayer, who's going to be at Grand Onslaught 7 as a head judge for painting. We'll also have what we like to call Duffy, Neil Duffy, there as well as a paint judge. A lot of players, a lot of participants, tons of swag. Shout out to Baron of Dice. Shout out to Away Games. Shout out to Stat Check. Shout out to Almost Functional. Shout out to Big Bear for the prop that he's giving us. We have like 10 different sponsors. Shout out to Art of War for their sponsorships as well. And much love to everybody. And thank you so much. Everybody want to say bye?
Here, guys.
Right.
Have a good night.
Bye, guys. See you next time.
Bye. Un segundo.
If Lewis can figure out how to end it. Oh, there we go.
I forgot to have it up. I forgot that I needed it up. So. All right, so then we'll do this for a little while, and then we're good to go.